Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful of Wellness,
the multi-generational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
and certified coaches
who deliver tips to live your most authentic, balanced, and anxiety-free life.
With Mental Health Awareness Month in full swing, we wanted to dedicate today's episode to just that. It's important for the world to know that your mental health is equally as important as your physical health, so we gotta make time to prioritize it.
As we've heard your feedback, especially in response to last week's episode about overwhelm and overthinking, we've figured out that the most pressing topic amongst the Soulful Society is anxiety management. That's kind of perfect for us because we're somewhat experts in the realm of generalized anxiety, and we have many tools in our coaching tool belts that work for us and that we are so happy to share with you.
To help you manage overwhelm, stress, and anxiety, today we're giving you our 4 favorite strategies for stress and anxiety reduction. Welcome back. I don't know where that came from. Welcome back.
I think that was you not feeling sick anymore and just being like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, we're recording and we're not stuffy. We sound like ourselves. We have our true energy. And it just made you sing.
True dat. So if you liked that little jingle or if you like these episodes, please take just a minute to follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as well as leaving us a rating and review, because that's how fabulous listeners like you can find our podcast.
We're starting off this week with a few Mental Health Awareness Month fast facts. Mental Health Awareness Month has been observed throughout the month of May in the United States since 1949.
Wow. I thought it was honestly a few years old, very recent.
Right? I can't remember when I first heard about it, but suffice to say, much more recent. I do not remember ever even hearing about it when I was a kid or even really a young person. Apparently, it was started, next fast fact, by the Mental Health America organization as an ongoing effort to reduce the stigma around mental illness and mental health conditions by having people share their personal experiences, which is perfect because that's basically what you and I do, Kaelynn, each week on this podcast. We share more than just our mental health. We share our health experiences, all our wellness areas, but they're all intertwined and interconnected and quite frequently come back to that mental health aspect of anxiety and regulating it for ourselves. Final fast fact, anxiety disorders are the most commonly diagnosed mental health condition, affecting about 18% of the population. 1 in 5.
1 in 5. Wow.
Yeah, we have plenty of company.
Yeah, right. You're not alone at all. It's safe to say that the person next to you is likely feeling some sort of strain or stress in the brain, and we don't want that. But we acknowledge that it's there. We acknowledge that, some of us are born with different chemical imbalances. Some of our experiences and our traumas develop into different mental health disorders. And that's what we're here to do, is break the stigma. Let's talk about it. It's clearly a very relatable thing because it's a part of the human experience, whether or not it's something that you've been able to heal and overcome, or whether or not it's something that you live with every single day and it's just a part of life.
Absolutely. It's about awareness and acceptance, treating people kindly.
Yeah, I feel like the main word that comes to mind for me is compassion. And the idea of self-compassion is huge. It's something that we learned in our coaching program, and it's something that's going to be able to help you be more compassionate for others and more understanding of others. Or maybe if you don't understand, you can at least have some more kindness towards them. But it all starts with the self and it grows out from there. So we want to utilize today's tools in an effort to gain more self-compassion and take care of ourselves so that we're able to live a juicy, good, fabulous life, even when, we've got some stressors or maybe some disordered thinking or things like that.
Yes, we want to have the best mental health that we are personally capable of having.
Right.
Whether you have more impediments on the road to that or fewer, we can all just do the best with what we have. And we have 4 of our current favorites. I feel like sometimes we're loving some tools more than others, but these are the 4 that we're kind of vibing with currently.
Let's dive in.
You want to start us off with your specialty tool?
Yeah, so this we're going to label Kay's tool. It's something that I've designed recently without even realizing it. But after talking on the phone with my cousin for a long time, I realized that I had designed a tool that I've been using. So I really want to share it. It's called Transmuting the Energy. So I've been turning my overwhelm into excitement. So I've been harnessing that sort of frenetic or spastic, intense energy and transmuting it into something else. And so I can explain a little bit more about what that looks like. Starting the year off and looking at the year from a bird's eye view with everything on the calendar, I was riddled with anxiety and overwhelm. I felt stressed. I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I couldn't manage it all. And I started to build some resentment and frustration around things and noticed myself, venting a lot. And it wasn't cute, but I couldn't stop myself from it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's not a comfortable way to feel. When you have all that extra energy buzzing through your system looking for an outlet and you're using venting, but that's not really letting it out, that's a really physically uncomfortable way to feel.
That's such a good point, because when we're in emotional distress, it's going to start manifesting in the physical body, right? We're going to get stomach aches, or we're not going to digest as well, or our skin is going to break out into rashes or acne or something. And so then it's sort of this vicious cycle where then you're feeling miserable. So that energy, to your point, Kit, it needed to go somewhere. And, I've been exercising and things like that, which are fabulous for that. But there was still there's just an excess of mental stress. And so a lot of my other habits wasn't doing enough. So I came up with this tool. I started to shift my perspective a little bit because logically I could understand that, well, all of these things on the calendar are so fun though. They're so joyous. They're positive. But mentally I was just struggling, feeling like I was underwater. So I decided to pivot and change my perspective and transmute that energy into excitement. And as I was able to do that, I started feeling a sense of spaciousness that I so crave in my brain. The ability to be able to focus on one event, one thing at a time, and prepare for what's coming up right in front of me instead of further down the road. It's like an analogy. If you're driving down a desert road, and it's desert for miles and miles and miles, you've got the headlights on and you're just looking at what's right in front of you. You're not thinking about the road that you can't see. So it enabled me to have capacity to deal with stress as it came up, to deal with things going wrong, and to deal with negative emotions as they arose.
You were looking at a broad view. To say looking at the year, that's a lot at any point. But when you're looking at the whole year and you weren't feeling the joy, even of the joyful events, because you're just looking at sheer quantity and feeling overwhelmed by how many things there were, how many things to prepare for, and all the steps to get yourself ready for them. So when you were able to just push pause and reframe it and bring the lens, like you described the headlights, bring the headlights into focus so you're just looking at the next event, you could feel the joy around that event, feel the hopefulness and the looking forward and the excitement about the event.
Yeah.
And all the other things faded away so that you could actually live in the joy of what was coming up next.
Yes, and it makes me feel joyous to hear you describe that and to repeat that back to me. Thank you, coach. And
Yeah.
reflective listening. No, but it really did. And in all honesty, wedding planning is really kind of what sparked this sort of overwhelm of planning and thoughts. And so you're already in long-term planning mode, right? And you've got so many sort of you're trying to manage a million projects at once within your own wedding. And then to add all of these other events that are going on this year, it just was bubbling up and I was ready to explode.
Right.
And I began to think, well, now my events are coming up and I want to have all the capacity to soak these joyous events in and enjoy them. The fruits of our labor, everything that we've planned so hard for. And so just had that pivot moment where I was like, let's go. I'm excited.
I think that is such a powerful tool to be able to put yourself in the perspective to say, wait, a lot of these are fun things. They're events that I've chosen for myself. But if you can't even have fun doing them, then what's the point? So it's really powerful to be able to say, hold on, I understand how I work, how my mind works. And if my mind can take one thing at a time, I can fully embrace that one thing and get the joy of that upcoming event.
For sure. So this tool is really about transmuting the energy of overwhelm, right? And we spent a whole episode last week talking about overwhelm. Go check it out if you haven't already. And shifting that and changing it and manipulating it into exciting energy. Because like you said, Kit, it was like a big energy. I know that sounds kind of weird to say. It was a large energy that needed a place to go.
That's obviously not going to feel good if it's buzzing around inside either your head or your stomach or wherever you happen to feel that overwhelm in your body. It's distracting.
Yes.
It's not productive because contrary to helping you get ready, it gets in the way of organization.
It gets in the way. Yes, exactly. And then all you're left with is anxious thoughts and stress and the snowball effect right in your brain. So this allows you to also trick your brain, which we like doing sometimes, into I'm excited. This is fun. Cool. I'm going to take it one thing at a time.
And then it seems so much more manageable. Those thoughts will creep in like, oh, but what about? And just say, shh, later. We'll get to that later.
Yes. Put that anxiety on the shelf. Sometimes you can play with that a little bit, like later.
Exactly. We will hit that one, just not right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Tool number 2.
All right. The industry buzzword. You hear
Yeah,
it all
yeah.
over the place.
Self-care. Here at Soulful of Wellness, we are all about doing things that feed our soul. So you guys know that we firmly believe that living authentically is the greatest thing that you can do for your holistic well-being. So we have redefined self-care because it's such a buzzword out there.
And we have an episode from, I don't even remember how long ago, a few months ago now, where we broadened the definition of self-care. But today we're taking it even a step further. Today we're redefining self-care. And we're saying that self-care is doing anything that A, makes you feel like yourself, and B, nourishes you, either your body, mind, and or spirit, and C, allows you to take a pause from life, from overwhelm, from overthinking, and take some time for yourself.
What can take you out of your mind and into your body, into the moment?
It can be a physical activity. It can be a social activity.
Yeah, it could be a concert. It could be doing a happy dance in your kitchen for 5 minutes a day. It could be going to volunteer with animals. It could be shutting off your phone and not talking to anyone for a few hours or interacting with the outside world, reading a book, taking a nap.
Knitting, playing solitaire, just something that lets your mind relax and shift into a different gear for a period of time. and gives you a little break from the mayhem. The mayhem that is life.
Yeah, that is life. Giving yourself permission to put life on pause for a second. We don't need to think about, XYZ or worry about ABC. Let's just take this time for me, for myself, to check out and check into something else that you enjoy, genuinely enjoy. Like if bubble baths aren't your thing, don't do the bubble bath. If they are, amazing. Make it fun. Get some bath salts. Get bubbles. Light a candle. Make a whole little date for yourself where you're just in your own little world.
It does wonders.
It really does, because when you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, there's a sense of like a pinball machine in your head where the thoughts are just bouncing and then bouncing and bouncing, and there's so many of them, and then there's a snowball effect, and all of a sudden you look up from your phone or whatever you're doing or thinking, and a lot of time has passed and you haven't gotten anywhere or done anything. You've just worked yourself up.
Right. And there's an airiness, not in a good way, that comes from that overwhelm where you're not yourself, you're not tethered, you're sort of floating. And I think that's why time can get away from you. Things that are concrete, you don't feel connected to, or I should speak for myself here, I don't feel connected to. So one of these self-care activities, something that's just for me, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10, 15, 30 minutes, it's grounding in a way that brings me back to the present. You mentioned this earlier, Kaelynn. It allows me to create the space to go back to the things I need to be doing.
For sure.
And there's this element of, but all the time that I'm spending on this activity, let's say it's half an hour, that's half an hour where I could have been tackling the things I need to tackle. But you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as the needed respite that will bring you back so much more efficient, so much better, capable mentally and possibly even physically of tackling all those things coherently.
Right. And for showing up for other people in your life, for being a better partner or daughter or friend or whatever it is. You can't pour from an empty cup, and that's such a famous saying for a reason. So if you think about it that way, you can show up for others even more. You gotta fill your own cup, and whatever that looks like for you is going to be different than the next person. So Kit, what is your favorite soulful self-care activity?
My current favorite, I guess my quick and easy, free cell solitaire.
Nice.
It's on my phone, so it's pretty much always with me. I can literally play for a few minutes, and I just feel like I got a little something for myself. Like all me, just for me.
Yeah, and it takes you out of the thought spirals because all of your focus is on the game that you're playing.
Absolutely.
That's really nice. It's a perfect way to check out.
I think that's my latest. I'd have to go with that one. How about you?
Singing Disney songs. Like immediately takes me out.
That's nice for anybody who can hear you
Oh,
too.
shucks. It immediately takes me out of whatever's going on and puts me in a different vibration completely. It's wild. It's wild.
Mm-hmm. It has that mystical, magical element to it too, of Disney, and like you can picture the wand and the little stars going around like that. Like,
yeah, it elevates my vibration and makes me feel more like myself again because it brings me joy. And then I'm going to throw in another one. Going to the park and watching the dogs. Just observing.
So our third tool today is creating an emergency contact card for your mental wellness.
Love it. Right. So who's that person that you can call? Who makes you feel seen? Who's a really good listener that you know? Who will just go on a walk with you and, I don't know, talk about life or just be silent and just be there for you? And who makes you laugh the most? Take inventory of those people in your life.
When we're talking mental inventory here, we're not saying literally write a mental wellness contact card, unless, of course, you think that would be helpful.
I mean, you
in
could.
which case, go for it. But just think about the different go-tos, the different people you count on. They're your peeps. You're there for them. They're there for you. and just have the different scenarios. If you just are cranky and you need to snap out of it, who's the person who's going to crack you up? If you just need to vent, you need the person who's going to listen. And you might have a lot of people who listen, but a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this myself, we want to fix. Sometimes you just need that person who's just going to listen and not try to fix anything for you.
Right. And that's what your coach is for. If you are interested in hiring a coach, small plug, Kit and I are available and would be so honored to have you as one of our clients. So if you need that support of someone who's guaranteed to listen and ask the right probing questions to get you to the mental space that you need to be at, it's a good time to hire a coach. Last tool of the episode, journaling. So let's brain dump. I love this. You just get it out. You word vomit onto paper or your phone. I mean, it's important to remember that our thoughts are just that. They're just thoughts. They don't define us. They don't predict the future. And they certainly don't make things true. Just because you think it doesn't mean it has validity. So writing down our thoughts allows us to release them, let go of them, as opposed to holding on to them in our heads or making them bigger, ruminating over and over again about something. Because sometimes our brains like to go down a rabbit hole of fearful or negative thoughts. And that's fine. That's a part of being human. That doesn't diminish your journey at all or your wellness. It's just a part of being human. And sometimes the thoughts just get clogged up there.
You mentioned just because they're thoughts doesn't mean it's real. That's an area that can get really gray, because the more you think it, the more you connect with it, and you can easily lose touch with the fact that it is not real. After hearing it in your own head for a certain amount of time, you can lose touch with the fact that it's not actually a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it never was, but you just heard it so much that you start to accept it. And you need to remain aware. Like, is this even a thing? And that's where getting it down on paper helps so much, because when you can get it out, it's out, and it doesn't keep popping up in the same way. It's not as prevalent. It's not as pervasive. And then later you can choose to read over what you wrote or not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have one of these situations where you're like, is that even a thing? Or have I just gradually accepted that it is because I've been telling myself those messages for so long? Sometimes seeing it on paper makes it look ludicrous, where your brain was convincing you it was probably really a thing. When you see it, you can have this awareness, like, that cannot possibly be.
Right. And I love what you said. You don't even need to read it. Brain dumps, I mean, they're not even meant to be read. They're like you scrabbling any thought that's coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's an exercise where you just
Quick and dirty,
right? Like super messy, like you don't even need to keep it. You don't even need
Spelling
to read
doesn't
it.
count.
Right. It does not matter at all. It's just the act of pen to paper that it serves as an outlet and a manager for overthinking. Because now they're not circling in your head. They're somewhere. You put them somewhere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to point out that the antidote for all of this is the mantras and the affirmations to shift those thought patterns, right? If you've gotten into a deep hole that you're not worthy, or that, you know, you've been having some negative self-talk, like that antidote to that gremlin is mantras and affirmations. So powerful.
We didn't talk about mantras and affirmations when we were preparing for this episode. So funny, you should mention that, because just today, and I didn't tell you this because we didn't talk about it, I rewrote a page of personal affirmations because I thought it was time. Mine needed a little updating.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote 5 new affirmations and then sort of a bonus affirmation / goal at the bottom.
Will you share one with us?
So I wrote the 5. And then at the end, I thought, what's the theme here? Where am I going with this? What am I working toward? Because these are all in an effort to help me along my personal journey to be a better version of myself. And I realized I spent the first 50 plus years of my life trying to take up as little space as possible in the world, trying to not be a problem to anyone, to not need anything from anyone, also to be as physically small as I could. And I'm working on releasing all of that. I can physically and emotionally take up space. And not only can I will. So at the bottom, it says, note to self, take up space, !
I love that. Yes. Female power,
Yep,
baby.
I'm gonna
That's awesome.
take up the space that is mine in this world.
Hell yeah, you are. I love that. Thank you for sharing, kid.
You are most welcome. How about you?
Okay, I'll share mine as we wrap up the episode. My new mantra has been short and sweet. I am worthy.
Because you are.
And so I am just trying to convince my brain that I'm worthy of all the good things that are coming.
You are.
Oh, thank you. Affirmations are typically I am statements, and then mantras can be whatever, like our favorite mantra, I do not chase, I attract. What belongs to me will simply find me. So we invite you to use that or use your own. DM us your favorite affirmation. We'd love to hear it. And we hope that you learned tools that can help you manage anxiety and stress. We're right there with you. We love you. We appreciate you. And happy Mental Health Awareness Month.
Peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light. The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers. So full of wellness.